13 Roads. Here is a tale I have not yet forgotten. Listen. Tonight it is a girl with 12 keys and a brass ring, and a door she was told never to open. Her name was Sailor. She married a wealthy man from a great house, and the great house sat at the end of the hollow road. I will tell you what she found there, and how she walked back out. The hollow road is one of 13. It is the road of the missing. People who walk it do not always come home, and the ones who do not come home are not mourned the way other dead are mourned, because the road takes the remembering as well. A mother who loses a son on the salt road weeps for 40 years. A mother who loses a son on the hollow road weeps for a week. And then one morning she sets out an extra plate at supper and cannot say for whom. The plate sits. The plate is cleared. The plate is not set out again. That is the road. It eats the grief along with the man. The man who married Sailor had walked the hollow road for 30 years and had not been forgotten. That alone should have told her something. He came down out of the hollow road in autumn and took a room at her father's inn. He was older than her father. He was quiet at table. He paid for everything in silver coin that was not the coin of any kingdom Sailor's father knew, and Sailor's father took it anyway, because silver is silver. He watched Sailor for 3 nights without speaking to her. On the 4th night, he asked her name. She gave it. He asked her father, the next morning, for her hand. Her father said yes before Sailor was awake to be asked. She was 19. He was, by the lines on his face, 60. He was kind in his way. He did not raise his voice. He did not drink. He brought her, on the morning of the wedding, a string of river pearls he had carried, he said, since his mother's time. The pearls were warm. Sailor put them around her neck and did not take them off, and she rode beside him in the cart up the hollow road, and she watched the trees on either side of the road and tried to remember the names of the villages they passed. She could not, after, remember any of them. Not one. She thought at the time that this was nerves. A bride forgets things on her wedding day. That is what she told herself. The house sat at the end of the road. It was 3 stories of black stone with a slate roof and a door of grey oak banded in iron. There was a stable. There was a well. There was a kitchen garden that had grown wild because, he said, no one had been there to tend it. He apologized for the garden. He said she might tend it if she wished. He said the house was hers now. He brought her inside. He fed her bread and salt at the kitchen table, his own hand, his own bread, the way a husband brings a wife into a house in that country. And after she had eaten, he took from his belt a brass ring with 12 keys hanging from it, and he laid the ring on the table between them. He said, "There are 12 doors in this house." He said, "11 of them are yours. Open them when you please. Sleep in any bed, read any book, sit in any chair. The house is yours." He said, "The 12th door is at the bottom of the stair behind the kitchen. It is made of black wood. It has no handle, only a keyhole. The smallest key on this ring opens it." He said, "That door is not yours. You will never open it, not while I live and not after." He said, "Do you understand me, Sailor?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Say it back." She said, "I will not open the 12th door." He kissed her forehead the way a father kisses a daughter. He said he would be away 3 days. He said the house was hers. He left. The brass ring sat on the table between her hands. She opened the 11, of course. He had not told her not to. The first was a library, 2 stories high, with a ladder on a brass rail. Every book on every shelf was bound in the same dark leather. She took one down. It had no title on the spine. Inside the cover, in a careful small hand, was written a woman's name and a date. The name was not hers. The date was 80 years old. She put the book back. She took down another, a different name, a different date, 60 years. She took down a third, a different name, 40 years. Every book in the library had a woman's name and a date written inside the cover. and no two names were the same, and the dates ran back 200 years. She told herself the books had been collected from many libraries. She closed the door. The second was a music room. There was a harpsichord. There were 3 violins on stands. The violins had been tuned recently. She could see the bright bronze of new strings, but the dust on the floor showed no footprints but her own. The third was a room of clothes. 12 seasons of dresses hung on cedar racks, each season complete. A wedding dress, a summer dress, an autumn dress, a winter cloak, a riding habit, a chapel veil. 12 sets. Each set fit her exactly. She held one up to her shoulders. It had been cut for her measure. She had been measured, she remembered, by a tailor he had brought to the inn before the wedding. She had been measured once. There were 12 sets. She put the dress back. The fourth was a room of dolls. They were old dolls, porcelain, in the dress of country girls. They sat on shelves around 3 walls. Each one had real hair. She touched the hair of the nearest, and it was real, and it was the color and weight of a girl's. Each doll's hair was a different color. There were 11 dolls. She did not count them at the time. She counted them later. The fifth was a room with a window facing the back of the house. The window had a view of nothing. Not a wall, not a garden, not the sky. A grey nothing, the color of fog, but not moving. She stood at the window for a long time. She put her hand to the glass. The glass was cold. She could not tell if the nothing on the other side was inches away or miles. She closed that door faster than the others. The sixth was a chapel, a small altar, a single candle, lit. She had not lit it. She did not know who had. She knelt at the altar and tried to pray, and could not remember the words to the prayer her mother had taught her. She knew she had known the prayer that morning. She could not, in the chapel, find the first word. The seventh was the kitchen, the working kitchen, not the great kitchen below. There was bread on the counter. The bread was warm. She broke it. The inside was soft. There was no fire in the oven. There had not been a fire in the oven for some time. The ash was cold. The bread was warm. She did not eat it. The eighth was a nursery, a cradle, a rocking horse, a small bed under a small window. The cradle had never been used. The mattress was new. The blanket folded across the foot of the cradle had her initials embroidered on the corner. She had not embroidered them. The ninth was a mirror room, every wall a mirror, the ceiling a mirror, the floor a polished black stone that reflected like a mirror. She stood in the center of the room and saw herself 11 times. She counted. 11. She counted again. 11. There should have been more. There should have been mirrors of mirrors, reflections of reflections, going on forever. There were 11 sailors. She could not find the 12th. She closed that door very slowly. The 10th was a room of dried flowers, roses, lilies, larkspur, hung in bunches from the rafters. The flowers were very old. They were also still bleeding color onto the floorboards beneath them, the way fresh flowers bleed when their stems are broken. She did not touch them. The 11th was a room with one chair, pointed at the wall. The chair faced the wall as if someone had been sitting in it and looking at the wall. There was no window. There was no picture on the wall. There was only the chair and the wall, and a small dent in the wall at the height of a sitting man's forehead. She sat in the chair. She looked at the wall. She found, after a moment, that she did not want to stand up. The chair was very comfortable. The wall was very close. She could hear, faintly, a sound she could not name. She stood up before she stopped being able to. She closed the 11th door, and her hands were shaking. And she went down to the kitchen, and she sat at the table, and she looked at the brass ring with the smallest key on it. And she thought about the 12th door for a very long time. She told herself she would not open it. She told herself for 2 days. On the 3rd day, she opened it. The door was at the bottom of the stair behind the kitchen, exactly where he had said. It was black wood. It had no handle. The smallest key on the ring slid into the lock as if the lock had been cut for it, which it had. She turned the key. The door opened inward. The room was lit. She did not, at the time, understand by what. Inside the room, in a half circle facing the door, stood 11 women in 11 wedding dresses. They were dead. I want you to understand that. They were not sleeping, and they were not sick, and they were not being kept alive by any art Sailor understood. They were dead. They were also standing. Their eyes were open. Their hands were at their sides. Their dresses were the dresses Sailor had seen upstairs in the room of 12 seasons, 11 of them, and the 12th dress, the one Sailor had held to her shoulders, was missing from that room because the 12th dress was waiting on a hook on the wall behind the 11 women. An empty hook, a dress on it, cut to her measure. Each of the 11 women had her left palm turned outward, slightly, the way a beggar holds out a hand. Sailor went closer. She did not want to. Her feet went anyway. Each woman had a name carved into the inside of her own palm. The same name, 11 times. The husband's full name, first, second, and the long, old surname Sailor had said only once at the wedding when the priest had asked her to repeat it. The name was carved deep enough that Sailor could read it from a step away. It had been carved, she thought, by the women themselves. She could not say why she thought that. She thought it anyway. The name on each palm was fresh. None of the cuts had healed. None of the cuts had bled. She understood the room then. She understood it the way you understand a thing you have always known and never been told. The 11 women were the women who had come before her. The dresses upstairs were their dresses. The books in the library were their books. The dolls were their hair. The mirror room had 11 sailors because there had been 11 before her, and she was the 12th, and the 12th mirror was the hook on the wall, and the dress on the hook was the dress she had held that morning to her shoulders, and the cradle in the nursery had her initials on the blanket, because every wife the husband had known would die before she filled it. She turned to leave the room. The door was still open. She walked to it. She passed through it. She climbed the stair. The key in her hand was wet. She did not, at first, understand why. The room had been dry. The lock had been dry. She had not put the key down. She looked at the key in the lamplight on the kitchen table, and the key was wet, and the wet was not water. It was something darker, and it had a smell, a faint smell, like a flower that has been kept too long in a sealed room. She tried to wipe the key on her apron. The wet did not come off. The brass had taken the color. She knew then that he would know. He came home that night. He came home at the 3rd hour, the way he had said he would come home on the 4th day, but it was the 3rd day, and Sailor had lost a day somewhere in the 11 rooms and could not remember which one had taken it. She heard the door of the house open. She heard his boots on the flagstones. She heard him hang his cloak. She heard him say her name. She was sitting at the kitchen table. The brass ring was on the table. The smallest key was the color of old wine. He came into the kitchen. He looked at her. He looked at the ring. He looked at the smallest key. He did not raise his voice. He said, "Sailor, you opened the door." She did not answer. He said, "I told you not to. I told you and you said you understood, and you said it back to me. Why did you open the door?" She said, "Because you told me not to." He nodded, as if this were the answer he had expected. He said, "Every one of them said the same thing. You are not the first to say it. You are the 11th. There will not be a 12th because the dress is on the hook." He came across the kitchen toward her. He moved the way a man moves who has done a thing many times. He was not angry. That was the part she could not bear. He was not angry. He was tired. He was a tired man coming home to a tired ending. Now, listen to me carefully. The hollow road forgets the people who walk it. That is what the road does. The man at the end of the road had walked it for 30 years and had not been forgotten. Because the man at the end of the road had a name no one had spoken aloud in his hearing in 30 years. He had taught his wives to call him by a shortening, a single syllable, a kind word. The kind of word a wife uses for a husband when she is fond. Sailor had called him by it for 3 weeks. She had not, since the priest at the wedding, said his full name once. Each of the 11 women in the room below had cut his full name into her own palm with a knife in the last hour of her life, because each of them had understood, the way Sailor understood when she stood among them, what had been done. They had cut his name into their palms because they had wanted, at the end, for someone to read it. They had not been able to say it. The room would not let them. They could only carve it. Sailor was not in the room. Sailor was in the kitchen. The kitchen was upstairs and outside, and on the road that led away from the house, and the road was the hollow road, and the hollow road forgot. She stood up from the table. She said his full name. She said it loud enough for the house to hear it. First name, second name, the long, old surname. The man stopped walking toward her. He looked, for the first time, surprised. He opened his mouth. He closed it. He looked at his hands. His hands were going. The skin of his hands was going first, going thin, going grey, going to the colour of the nothing in the window of the 5th room. He said, "Sailor, do not." She said his full name again. He went to his knees. She said it a 3rd time, and on the 3rd time, the house went with him. Not the stones stood. The remembering went. The 30 years of him walking the hollow road undid themselves in the kitchen between her and him, and the 11 women in the room below were forgotten by the road that had forgotten them. And being forgotten by the road that forgets is not the same as being forgotten by the world. The world remembered them. Their names came back into their mothers' mouths, in towns Sailor had never been to, in the same hour. 11 mothers, in 11 houses, set out an extra plate at supper for daughters they had not been able to grieve, and the plates stayed set. The man on the kitchen floor was not there anymore. The dress on the hook in the room below was not there anymore. The 11 women in the wedding dresses were not standing anymore. They were lying down. They were dead, the ordinary dead, the dead who go into the ground and are wept over. Sailor buried them. 11 graves in the kitchen garden that autumn. She marked each one with the name from the palm. She left the house in the spring. She took the ring of 12 keys with her. She took nothing else. I met her 3 years later. She runs an inn at the edge of a different road. It is not the hollow road. I will not tell you which road it is. She is older than 3 years should have made her. She is kind. She pours a good cup. She asks travelers their names and writes the names in a book she keeps under the counter. And she says she does this so that no one who stays a night with her will be forgotten. She has the brass ring on a nail behind the bar. 12 keys. The smallest one is still the color of old wine. The color has not come off. I asked her one night whether she ever says the name aloud anymore. She said no. She said, "I do not say it because I am afraid he might come back if I did." She said, I do not say it because I am afraid he might not. I have stood in the room at the bottom of the stair behind the kitchen of the house at the end of the hollow road. The house is empty now. The door at the bottom of the stair is open. The hook on the wall is empty. There is no dress. There are 12 graves in the kitchen garden. I counted them twice. The 12th is small. It is at the end of the row. It has no name on it. The grass over it is the same age as the grass over the others. I do not know who is in it. I have a guess. I have kept it. So tonight I am telling you about a girl and a house and a ring of 12 keys and a door she was told never to open and a room with 11 dresses on 11 dead women and an empty hook for a 12th. She opened the door. She walked back out. She's the only one who did. If you ever find yourself on the hollow road and a man at the end of it offers you a ring of keys and tells you that one of the doors is not yours, open it. Open it on the first day. Do not wait and learn his full name before you go in. I am telling you what I saw before I forget. Good night.